Hello and welcome to the Fast Track Travel Clinic with me, Simon Calder, and let's start with the tricky issue of overstaying a visa. Sri Harsha from Chennai in India got in touch while on a business trip to Paris. There's been plenty of disruption to air travel to and from the French capital because of strikes, and with more industrial action threatened, Sri Harsha was worried.
What will happen if my flight to Doha is cancelled and I'm not able to leave Paris before my visa expires?
Even if the worst happens and there's a general shutdown, then the authorities will be understanding about visa issues for you and thousands of others in your position. My evidence for this comes from the volcanic ash shutdowns in April and May. All the immigration authorities knew what was going on, and as long as travellers provided evidence of an intention to leave the country before their visa ran out, involuntary breaches weren't penalised in any way. Indeed, while Fast Track has received many messages about airlines failing properly to look after passengers during the airspace closures, nobody has reported problems with overstaying a visa. Next, as loyal Fast Track viewers know all too well, the airline business is full of seemingly nonsensical rules, as Andrew Wilkinson of Hampshire, southwest of London, discovered when he bought a flight via Detroit to Toronto for his daughter.
She flew the first leg, but instead of flying on to Toronto, she was met at Detroit airport by friends. When she came to return, Delta said by not completing both legs of the outbound journey, she had invalidated her booking and that her return trip had been cancelled, so she had to buy a new ticket.
Andrew, I'm sorry to hear about your daughter's expensive and distressing experience, but I'm afraid Delta is one of many airlines that cancels all reservations held by a passenger who, quotes, fails to occupy space which has been reserved for him on a flight. Well, that begs the question, why do airlines punish travellers like this? And it's largely to do with fares. Delta charges around $700 for an off-peak London-Detroit-Toronto ticket, but at certain times the London-Detroit fare alone may be significantly more than that. To stop travellers indulging in what's known as tariff abuse, airlines typically have a zero-tolerance policy. I contacted Delta on your behalf, but basically all they said was, if you're thinking of not taking a flight, phone us first. Next, Jerry Walker is a Canadian Fast Track viewer with the good fortune to be a regular visit to the Caribbean. He got in touch because he is
annoyed and financially disadvantaged to the tune of $300 because Caribbean Airlines chose to implement its minimum 1-hour check-in deadline on one occasion when I arrived with only 45 minutes to spare.
Jerry, I share your pain. When you buy a ticket, you agree to the rule that you will arrive at the airport at the time the airline says. And Caribbean Airlines has a deadline of 1 hour for check-in for international flights. I've repeatedly tried to raise your case with them, but to no avail so far. And while some staff in some airports may be more relaxed, the rules are clear. If you're late, it's your problem. And unfairly perhaps, if the plane's late, it's also your problem. Finally, Lawrence Ryan and his wife had to postpone their travel dates because Mrs. Ryan was ill with deep vein thrombosis.
Even though we provided a doctor's certificate about her condition, Malaysia Airlines charged me more than $500 to change flights to accompany my wife.
Lawrence, I've been in touch with the airline on your behalf, and the spokesman told me that while a passenger who provides proof of a medical need to postpone travel is usually allowed to change without penalty, the policy on companions is not so clear. It seems to depend on whether you are there for strong medical reasons or merely being a good companion for your wife. But the airline says that every decision is based on common sense and compassion, and therefore I would suggest you get back in touch, explain the circumstances in more detail, and hopefully get a better result. Well, that's all we've got time for in this session of the Fast Track Travel Clinic. Keep those emails coming to fasttracktravel@bbc.co.uk. And from me, Simon Calder, bye for now and see you next time.